wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli, amma ba'd. Terima kasih kepada semua rakan-rakan, teman-teman, para pensyarah daripada Universiti Malaysia Kelantan dan juga daripada universiti-universiti lain yang berkesempatan untuk bersama-sama kita dalam sesi webinar pada pagi ini yang dianjurkan oleh Pusat Kecemerlangan dan Pembangunan Akademik Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. InsyaAllah pada pagi ini kita akan bersama dengan yang berbahagia Dr. Borhan bin Cik Daud, penceramah jemputan kita yang akan membincangkan ataupun yang akan berkongsikan berkenaan dengan e-portfolio dalam melaksanakan online assessment. Jadi seperti mana yang kita maklum bahawa norma baharu dalam pembelajaran di universiti pada hari ini, kita telah menukar, kebanyakan universiti telah menukar assessment ataupun tugasan pentaksiran berbentuk dalam talian, yang mana antaranya seperti minggu lepas kita banyak kita mendengar berkaitan dengan open book test, take home exam dan sebagainya. Pada pagi ini insya-Allah kita akan bersama-sama mendengar perkongsian yang akan disampaikan oleh yang berbahagia Dr. Borhan berkaitan dengan e-portfolio, sesuatu perkara yang ataupun bentuk pentaksiran yang baru yang mungkin yang akan memberi manfaat kepada semua insya-Allah. Dan untuk makluman semua, Dr. Borhan bin Cik Daud merupakan pengarah Pusat Pengajian Bahasa dan Pembangunan Insaniah Universiti Malaysia Kelantan yang orang kata memang agak telah biasa menggunakan e-portfolio ini dalam melaksanakan assessment ataupun pentaksiran untuk PMP ataupun pengajaran dan pembelajaran universiti pada semester ini. Jadi sebagai makluman ataupun pengenalan awal kepada penceramah jemputan kita hari ini, Dr. Borhan bin Cik Daud merupakan berasal dari Pasir Mas, Kelantan, mendapat pendidikan menengah di Ma'had Muhammadi Lelaki dan seterusnya melanjutkan pengajian ke Universiti Malaya, University of Aberdeen UK dan Monash University Australia. Beliau mula berkhidmat di UMK sejak tahun 2010 dan sekarang merupakan pensyarah kanan di Jabatan Sains Kemanusiaan Pusat Pengajian Bahasa dan Pembangunan Insaniah dan juga merangkap pengarah Pusat Pengajian Bahasa dan Pembangunan Insaniah Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. Jadi saya rasa saya tidak ingin membuang masa. Saya dengan segala hormatnya, kecitanya menjemput dan mempersilakan yang berbahagia Dr. Borhan bin Cik Daud untuk perkongsian pada pagi ini insya-Allah. Falyatafaddal mashkura.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi. Very good morning to all. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir ya karim. Wa tammim bima huwa khair. Allahumma alhimna marashida umurina wa a'idna min syururi anfusina wa sayyiati a'malina. Pertama sekali, terima kasih kepada moderator kita pada pagi ini, Ustaz Wan. Sekalian penghargaan kepada pihak PKPA, UMK, khasnya pengarah Profesor Surya, di atas peluang yang diberikan untuk saya berkongsi pada pagi ini berkaitan dengan e-portfolio bagi tujuan pentaksiran. Slide ini saya sediakan dalam bahasa Inggeris dan saya sebenarnya berhasrat untuk mengendalikan sesi perkongsian ini dalam bahasa kebangsaan. Tapi insyaAllah saya tengok ada audiens tu yang daripada luar dan mungkin ada sedikit limitasi untuk bahasa Melayu. Saya akan kendalikan secara bilingual insyaAllah. Okay. Walau bagaimanapun slide dalam bahasa Inggeris tu saya rasa boleh difahami pada semua. Okay, untuk tujuan perkongsian pada pagi ini, saya sebenarnya tak adalah kita kata pakar dalam bidang pentaksiran ataupun terlibat secara langsung dalam kita kata pembangunan kurikulum dan sebagainya. Tetapi mungkin barangkali kerana saya ada menulis satu bab yang berkaitan dengan e-portfolio, yang sedang diusahakan untuk diterbitkan oleh JPT, khususnya oleh magnetik yang diketuai oleh Profesor Dr. Mutahharah daripada UPM. So mungkin sebab itulah barangkali saya diminta ataupun berada pada pagi inilah untuk share dengan teman-teman sekalian bagaimana kita boleh memanfaatkan e-portfolio ni untuk tujuan pentaksiran secara khususnya. Right. Dan saya ambil kesempatan lah untuk mengucapkan terima kasih kepada pihak Magnetik, khususnya Profesor Dr. Mutahharah atas peluang yang diberikan ini. InsyaAllah kita boleh sama-sama bergerak bersama untuk memikirkan cara-cara yang lebih efektif, lebih berkesan untuk memanfaatkan e-portfolio dalam PDP dan juga bagi tujuan pentaksiran. Right. Okay, for the purpose of my presentation today, so there are two parts. Part one, I will provide some brief overview on a portfolio, especially global scenario, what is happening in the higher education institutions in the world, especially in the United States, as well as in UK and Australia, regarding the usage of e-portfolio in teaching and learning. And the second part will be the core of our discussion today. So inshallah, I will provide some examples and instances of course assessment using e-portfolio. For your information, I've been using e-portfolio for assessment since 2017. 2017 when I was teaching the vet students at Pada Tembak, especially for the course. The name of the course is Kenegaraan dan Pembangunan Malaysia, Nationhood and Malaysia Development. So I've been using e-portfolio for about 3 years until now. So I'm still exploring the more effective way to use e-portfolio in our assessment. Right. The first part, inshallah, I will try to give some overview on what is happening in the United States, especially whereby instructors in the States, they have been using e-portfolio since 2001, I think, from the literature that I have read. So electronic portfolios, or e-portfolios, are rightfully positioned as high impact practice in higher education. Over 50% of all colleges and universities in the United States employ some form of an e-portfolio. So actually, in the United States, they have what they call the Association of American Colleges and Universities, AACU, Association of American Universities and American Colleges and Universities. So actually, e-portfolio has been regarded as one of the high impact educational practices from 2016. Okay, so actually they have been using e-portfolio in teaching and learning as well as for the purpose of assessment since 2001. So the movement of e-portfolio development from 2001, so they have used evidence-based research, as you can see from this slide. They have produced a handbook of research on e-portfolios since 2001, and this is published in 2006. And in 2009, they have this handbook of electronic portfolios 2.0. So the research on e-portfolios have emerged as one of the important approach in teaching and learning as well as in assessment. And actually they have this one, International Journal of e-Portfolio. I think we can have a look at this journal. So this journal actually has been in the core of the e-portfolios research and development in the US, in the States. So since 2016, e-portfolio has been added to the 10th. Before 2016, they have 10 elements of high impact educational practices. So from 2016, e-portfolios has been added as the new way of using high impact educational practices in the States. So from that, they have been researching and publishing a lot of papers and conferences, seminars on e-portfolios that you can have a look at that through the internet. So actually, e-portfolios have been used in the States, and if you can search in Australia as well, in the UK, using different platforms. I remember when I was thinking of using e-portfolio for assessment back in 2017, there was a platform called Mahara, M-A-H-A-R-A, Mahara. But then at that particular time, it wasn't meant for individual use. It was meant for institutional use. Then Mahara was used widely in Australia, in the New Zealand, the UK as well. So you can have a look at that through the internet. So that is the movement or the development of using e-portfolios in the United States. So especially under the Association of American Colleges and Universities, AACU. So this one is, so from 2011, they established this journal. And it is now a publication of the Association of American Colleges and Universities. So actually why I would like to share this development, because when we are looking at e-portfolio to be one of our tools for high impact educational practices, I think we might have to look at the background of the development. In the UK, in the States, they use the so-called evidence-based research before they upgrade or before they announce that e-portfolio is regarded as one of the high impact educational practices. So it is based on empirical research. So this is the announcements or the tables of HIP. According to AACU, they use the name of high impact educational practices as well as what we use in Malaysia as well. So e-portfolio has been added as one of the high impact education practices. So it has been used as well in the island. So they have e-portfolio island, the research. So you can have a read on this. So this one I got it from Mahara. So a number of educational institution in Ireland has been using e-portfolio for quite some time. So this is in our context, in the Malaysian context. So I think most of us has been exposed to the use of high impact educational practices in the context of higher education institution. So back in 2016, so the first HIPS book was published in 2016. So at that time, it was only 9 HIPS. It was only 9 HIPS. So this one, I got it from Prof. Mutahara. She presented this one at the conference in UUM. So now we have 13 high impact educational practices, including e-portfolio. So I think this is a good development in terms of our addition of HIPS to be utilized by our educators and instructors. So in terms of implementation, so e-portfolio, as you can see at the um, on your right, on the red colored boxes. So e-portfolio can be implemented throughout the academic program. So some of the HIPS implementation is suggested to be utilized or to be implemented in different academic year. For instance, in the first year, we can use first year seminar, CDL, common intellectual experiences. In the second year, we can utilize ID, interdisciplinary approach to assessment, diversity, DGL, diversity global learning, learning communities. And in the third year, the student could be exposed to service learning. And we have at JBT level, we have Sulam. Sulam is considered as an HIPS for service learning in Malaysian context. So we can also utilize intensive academic writing as well as internship. And on the right side, so we have empirical research, capstone project, collaborative assignment and project, CES, and as well as e-portfolio. So I'll be talking on one of the HIPS that inshallah we can use in our teaching and learning as well as assessment. So what is actually e-portfolio is all about? So normally ourselves and our students used to utilize portfolio in the form of, in the form of papers, hard copies and hard papers. But then in our context, in global scenario as well, so we are looking at digital learning using digital platform. So I think e-portfolio suits us to reflect on this new approach, so that we can develop a systematic way of using e-portfolio for assessment. So it is a systematic collection. In previous days, we use paper, but now we use digital format. In terms of documents could be, PDF documents, Word documents, videos, as well as images, URL links, and so on and so forth. That record, this is important, the student's learning experience. So during our teaching and learning, sometimes we are used to our own approaches to teaching and learning, but then sometimes we are lacking in terms of monitoring the student learning experience by the fact that the students have limited a platform to showcase their learning experience in different ways. So portfolios could be one of the new platform to be utilized or to be used by the students to showcase their overall learning experience, be it for one semester or 2 semesters or for the whole year of their studies in university. So this collection must be accompanied by an explanation of the connections between the chosen documents and between the documents and the purposes. So I highlighted the purposes for which the portfolio has been created. So it should be by design. Should be by design at the beginning of the course or at the beginning of each semester. Inshallah, we'll discuss later when we go to the practice or the instances on using e-portfolio. As well as reflections. So another key word for e-portfolio is reflection. The importance of students' reflection on their learning experience. And this one is from Giovanni and Moretti. Another one is they look at the e-portfolio or portfolio as a process, a product, and a tool. So from I quote here from Professor Mutahara. E-portfolio is portable, expandable, updatable vehicle for accumulating and presenting evidence of authentic student accomplishment, including the curation of specific proficiencies as well as skills and dispositions at given points in time. So e-portfolio is powerful pedagogical approach that requires meaningful student reflection. So I've mentioned in the first definition, students' reflection, and deepens learning while making achievement visible. This one is, I think, unique to e-portfolio. E-portfolio can make students' achievement visible to not only to themselves, to the student themselves, but to their peers, to the faculty, to their educators, instructors, to their parents, as well as to other external audience. All right, in terms of pedagogy, e-portfolio provides a set of practices that are platform agnostic. So as I mentioned before, there are different platforms to be used as a systematic way of utilizing e-portfolio. We have Mahara, we have a few other platforms, and it utilizes a range of broadly available technologies. So these are, one of the key critical success factor. The support of technological skills, be it for the student on the student side or on the instructor's side. So both have to, both of them, students and instructors, have to familiarize themselves with a number of technological skills, tools, and so on and so forth. So e-portfolio practice centers in three key points. The first one is active learner engagement. And the second one is responsibility in learning. So the students, control the e-portfolio. They are responsible for their learning. So they need to be active. And the third one is learner reflection upon artifacts of learning. So normally in e-portfolio, they use the word artifacts. Artifacts meaning instances, all the sources that they have put in their e-portfolio. So they have to reflect on artifacts of learning as well as process of learning. So these are the theoretical underpinnings of e-portfolio if we are going to use and understand what portfolio is all about. So in terms of the framework of e-portfolio, I've put here three different models. So the first one, you can see classification of portfolios and e-portfolios universities. This one is written in the paper by Manuela from University of Turin. So there are, so in this quadrant, so the first one level, we can use e-portfolio at single subject level or course level, or interdisciplinary, or for the entire degree course. In our context in Malaysia, we can use as a single course, or at program level, or at faculty level, or at institutional level. So according to literature in the US, in the States, they have been using this for either for departmental level as well as university level. In Malaysia as well, I think we have at UTM. UTM, they have my e-portfolio as well as UITM. They also have e-portfolio.
Dr. Borhan,
ya.
Saya menjelaskan sikit untuk Dr. share lagi sekali present now slide. Tadi ada introduction. Okay, terima kasih. Okay, thank you Dr. Boleh sambung.
Boleh, okay, right. So we can use at course level, program level, faculty level, as well as institutional level. For instance, at UMK, we can, think of how we can use e-portfolio for the entire university. In terms of timeline, you can use at the entrance level or during the whole of the student's experience in the university. You can use as well in the exit time and post-degree. So it is in terms of e-portfolio usage, it is lifelong and life-wide tools to be used. In terms of focus, so for the purpose of our presentation, our discussion today, I'll focus on assessment. So we can use for learning, can use for assessment, we can utilize it as professional development. For some companies, they use e-portfolio and entrance into the world of work. In the context of our students, we can use e-portfolio for our teaching and learning, for assessment, and for the students, they can use their own e-portfolio to showcase their entire learning experience from the beginning of the university study until the end. So this will be a good, testimony for them before embarking on their career. In terms of purpose, you can use it at internal level, or you can have it to be at external level. So this one is from conceptual framework for e-portfolio. So the link between academic, workspace, and community. So how can these three different domains could be utilized and used in e-portfolio as a tools and a repository, so that our students' achievement as well as their learning experience is visible, not only to us as instructors, but to the public, to the other people as well. Right. So this one of the research done by our colleague at UTEN. So you can read the paper. So they suggest a conceptual framework on e-portfolio in English communication. So from collecting artifacts, selecting and linking artifacts, reviewing, evaluating, and reflecting on artifacts. So this is, goes back to the theoretical underpinnings of using a portfolio. Presenting and share evidence, and the last one, plan and understand what you need to do or produce. But then the key or at the core of e-portfolio is reflection. Artifacts plus reflection and validation. So the self-regulated learning by students is implemented by reflecting on whatsoever artifacts that they put on their e-portfolio. So the last one before we go to the part two is the characteristics of e-portfolio. According to literature, there are 10 characteristics of e-portfolio. The first one is authentic. Authentic in the sense that the student takes responsibility for their learning. So it is, student has the autonomy to control their learning. Okay. So they need to organize their e-portfolio, making change here and there from time to time before producing the end product of the e-portfolio. And the second one is controllable, since students can organize their e-portfolio, reflect and assess their learning process. According to literature, there have been some debate on, whether e-portfolio should be controlled by the students or it should be, based on the institutional monitoring. They have some debate on that in the literature. But then I think the main point is that the student, have the autonomy. They can control their own portfolio. What are the artifacts? what are the sources, what are the evidence that they want to showcase to their audience. The third one is communicative and interactive. Yes, so they can have peers feedback as well as instructors feedback. And the fourth one is dynamic. Yes, this is the nature of e-portfolio. Yeah, it would have change in terms of organization, in terms of content, in terms of collection and selection of artifacts, as well as self-reflection on the learning process, and portfolio as a product as well. The next one is personalized, because students form their e-portfolio on their own. So, and the sixth one is integrative. So integrative means even though we use e-portfolio for the purpose of teaching and learning as well as assessment, then we can integrate the students' life and experience in the e-portfolio as well. So it shows the link, the integration between academic life and the normal life of any particular students. The seventh is multi-purpose. As we mentioned in the beginning, can be used as a vehicle for learning, teaching and learning, assessment, professional development, as well as for the institutional, storage or institutional database in monitoring the students' learning experience. And the eighth one is multi-source. So it provides students with feedback on their learning, teachers with the assessment of students' performances, and institutions with the ability to assess their programs, courses, or departments. So it depends on the purpose of the e-portfolio usage. The ninth one is motivational. So when we give the students ownership to control, to manage, to update, to change their e-portfolio, then the student would be much motivated to do so. Especially in, our students now is considered as digital native. So anything digital would be of, high motivation for them. And the last one is reflective. I put it on bold because this one is actually the key or the core point, or the main elements of e-portfolio, because it requires reflection on one's own learning, so students can self-reflect and assess their learning processes via e-portfolios. So any stages of their learning experiences should be reflected in the e-portfolio. So now, now we go to the second part, example of course assessment using e-portfolio. So my example is on the course that I teach, which is the Kenegaraan dan Pembangunan Malaysia, Nationhood and Malaysia Development. So especially this course is taken by the VET students only in UMK. So actually this slide I have prepared for the chapter in book for the new HIPS book. So enhancing leadership, autonomy and responsibility. So actually this is tagged to the program learning outcome, as we can see later on. So this project actually, or this course actually exposes students to the reality of a unique multiracial, multicultural and multireligious society in Malaysia within its socio-political, socio-economic and socio-cultural setting. So this is one of the overview of the course. Students are required to embark upon selected community engagement projects which they plan, prepare, perform, ponder and publish on their e-portfolios. The ultimate aim of the project is to enhance leadership skill, autonomy and responsibility, which is PO8 or KKM8, as well as to enliven the spirit of patriotism and nationalism among the students. This is tap to the course learning outcome. So this is the mapping of CLO, PLO, and delivery and assessment. So this has CLO is demonstrate characteristics of patriotism and nationalism towards inculcating the spirit of nationality and loyalty to the country. So what is the PLO that we expect students to achieve at the end of this course? So it is PO8, okay, KM8, leadership, autonomy, and responsibility. So the delivery method will be in terms of group work, and this can be assessment type, whereby I use e-portfolio to assess their project. So this should be shared to the students at the beginning of semester. So this one, the instructors' expectation as well as student expectation from the course. So they use the word convergence of students and instructors' expectation for the course. So when we put it at the beginning of the course, so we have to make everything clear for the students. So they will meet, inshallah, they will meet their our expectation, and inshallah they will also complete their project as well. Right. So step-by-step instruction, this is very important, so that the students know what is our expectation and what should they do. And inshallah, after this, we can see the rubric for the e-portfolio. So in order to complete the task, students need to form a group comprising of 7 to 8 members, choose a group leader, and so on and so forth. So from 2017 up to now, I have nearly 20 projects from three group of students for every year. So for 1 year, normally I have six to 7 groups of students doing on selected projects that they discuss and decided on their own. So discuss and choose a workable project in order to achieve PO8, leadership, autonomy, and responsibility. Create an e-portfolio to document all activities executed for the project using Web 2.0 platform. So I make it open for them to use any platform which is suitable for their e-portfolio development. So normally they use Wix.com or Blogspot.com or WordPress.com. As in our context in UMK, we don't have a dedicated platform for e-portfolio yet. Record management of the project from the beginning, planning stage until the end, executive stage in the e-portfolio. Prepare and complete the e-portfolio based on the format and assessment rubric provided. Submit the completed e-portfolio for evaluation. So this is the assessment rubric. So we have to make this visible for the students from the beginning of the semester. So that's why I use, I mentioned before, it should be by design. So this is actually a simple set of assessment rubric. So background of the project, management of project, main issues, set of skills acquired, and conclusion. So for this particular course, the project e-portfolio carries only 25 marks. So you can see, as you can see from the, right. So inshallah, I will show after this a few instances of our students' e-portfolio. So there are many impacts of the project. The first one, I would say, experiential learning. So students gain first-hand experience through engagement and exposure. So one of the key elements of e-portfolio is, key elements of HIPS is the students' exposure outside classroom. And the second one is leadership, autonomy, and responsibility. Students plan and execute the project with minimal supervision toward enhancing social skills and responsibility. The third one is volunteerism. Students develop spirit of volunteerism and awareness to contribute effectively to the community. So there are elements of students community connection or relationship. And the last one is service community-based learning. Students serve the community through PBL approach based on real situation. In terms of our students at UMK, while I was teaching, they are vet students. So I have tried so much that I can to tailor the project to their field of studies. So so it will make them more motivated to plan and execute the project. So inshallah, we'll try to look at one or two instances of the students' e-portfolio. I choose this one, track, neuter, and release project. So according to the mapping of CLO, PLO, teaching delivery as well as assessment. So and using the assessment rubric that has been given to them at the beginning of the semester, so students start to plan how to design their own e-portfolio. So for instance, this group, they have 7 students, from different background, different race, different religion. So this is the end product. So for instance, latar belakang, background, pengurusan project. So they have, all the details for the project management. For instance, I think we can browse some of them only. So you can after this, inshallah, you can look at them in detail. So this, for instance, Anjing Lia, the Cameron Highland. So these are the issues that are closely related to their field and uniquely faced by the community as well. All right, so now Kuching, trap, neuter, and release ni mereka ni buat apa dia? Kalau kita kata memandulkan kucing lah. Okay. So para pelajar ini meletakkan semua detail lah, perincian projek yang mereka laksanakan daripada awal. Ada yang mengambil inisiatif untuk melaksanakan fundraising untuk membantu projek mereka. So adalah kalau kumpulan ini mereka dapat RM1,050. Kemudian ada minit mesyuarat. So this is how they manage the project and put them in the e-portfolio. Okay, so we can see, even though it is in the form of text, but then we can see how the student develop from one stage to another stage to get their learning experience done. Ini contoh-contoh gambar lah projek mereka. Nanti teman-teman boleh tengok semula lah dalam ni. So the design of the e-portfolio is basically based on the assessment rubric that I have provided them at the beginning of semester. So dia ceritalah sikit tentang isu-isu relevan yang menyebabkan mereka memilih untuk melaksanakan projek ini. Okay, adalah cerita sikit kat situ. Kita tengok ringkas saja. So diceritalah sikit nantilah tentang policy, tentang the practice, amalan yang berlaku dalam masyarakat, polisi di peringkat kerajaan dan sebagainya. Kemudian kita tengok this one carta organisasi, kemahiran, set of skills that they acquired, communication, teknik komunikasi. I think this one is very authentic because they express their own learning experience. Walaupun ringkas, tapi kita boleh baca what is beyond the text. that show their learning experience. For instance, they divide the task between the members of group, the members of their group. Ada yang mahir berkomunikasi, ada yang mempunyai kemahiran di sudut penjagaan kucing, menenangkan haiwan liar yang berasa takut. So they learn through experiential learning as well as through their peers. So semua orang mempunyai bakat masing-masing, kan? Ada yang mahir menyediakan kertas kerja, mengurus, mengamas laporan kewangan dan sebagainya. Teknik mengenali kucing atau anjilian dengan cara yang betul. So based on their theoretical knowledge, bila mereka melaksanakan projek ini, mereka boleh mengaplikasikan apa yang mereka telah pelajari. So this one for vet students yang mungkin tidak biasa dengan laman web ataupun nak membina satu laman web, dalam konteks ini e-portfolio, dia kata masa diperlukan semasa menerokai dan belajar sesuatu yang baru. So with this digital native, I think they don't have to seek for a special course for web development, bagi mereka yang novice atau mereka yang di peringkat amatur untuk belajar tentang web development. So in this context is e-portfolio. Jadi itu satu kemahiran yang telah kita perolehi ataupun pelajar perolehi melalui projek e-portfolio ini. Dan akhir sekali kesimpulan. Okey, satu lagi saya nak tunjuk yang kedua. Yang kedua ini, let's do green. This one is related to community engagement. Sorry, not this one, another one. Oh yes, this one. So, ya dah, betul. Let's do green. Okay. So projek ini, pelajar ini guna Blogspot saja untuk hasilkan e-portfolio mereka. So projek ini pun tailored to the bidang pengajian perkhususan pelajar, iaitu pelajar veterina. So mereka plan, saya nak tengok sebelah latar belakang projek. Okay, ni projek ni 2017 lagi. So, mereka pergi ke sekolah Kemumin. So, ini isu dan analisis mereka. Okay. Kemudian kemahiran diperoleh. So, based on the assessment rubric. And then kesimpulan. Okay. Ada setengah kumpulan mereka rumuskan perjalanan projek itu dalam bentuk penghasilan satu video klip. Daripada awal sampai akhir, kita boleh tengok perkembangan itu melalui video klip tersebut. Ini boleh tengok tentang ahli mereka lah, pelajar-pelajar ini. Yeah. So they divided the tasks between themselves. So, ada yang bagi talk, ada yang maskini blog. So beyond the text that they have produced in this e-portfolio, we can see different skills, different learning experience that they have acquired during the planning execution of the project. Okay. Yang kumpulan ini dia tanam satu pokok di sekolah kebangsaan Kemumin. Right. So back to our presentation. So sikit lagi yang saya berhenti dalam 10 minit lagi. So, ada beberapa projek saya bagi contoh kat sini dalam 9 projek. So, ada lagi dalam 11-12 projek lah yang ada dalam saya punya database. Okay, the last part would be Ini contohlah, Plan for the Planet, Planting Trees for the Better World at Sekolah Kebangsaan Kemumin. Ini projek-projek yang mereka buat lah, yang melibatkan masyarakat, melibatkan, so it goes back to the achievement of the CLO and PLO as well. So future direction, this is 2-3 slides for the last part. So engagement with related industries and agencies to provide students with practical insight of community development processes. The second one, establishing personalized individual and group e-portfolios linked to industries and agencies databases. So we have, I think currently we have it, I don't know, the exact, implementation at UTM as well as UITM. So maybe we can have another session with them. In the context of my course, it is actually a group-based e-portfolio. So it is better that if we can develop, sort of, individual e-portfolio to monitor and, provide feedbacks to the students at individual level. So for this project, linking nationhood project e-portfolios to other HIPs so as to optimize materials produced by students in different ways, such as intensive academic writing and so forth. So we have 13 different HIPs. Screening potential projects that could bring about high impact values to the students, academia, and the community. This would be in the case of extension project. And the last one is preparing a dynamic database of e-portfolios, individual or group, that can be easily accessed by the public. And last one, conclusion. Regarding the use of a portfolio for assessment in the context of this course, students are able to acquire a set of skills at the end of the course related to leadership, autonomy, and responsibility linked to the student's field of study. So I think this is one of the main important key to design the e-portfolio, so that students enhance their field of study, even though they are learning different subjects. Students could showcase their work to their peers, lecturer, and public people. Lecturers could easily provide immediate and real-time feedback to the students' work in progress as their milestone progress. So in the context of my course, actually, I use a portfolio as a product and as a tool. In terms of process, I use different platforms to give feedback to the students when they are planning and executing their projects. Community benefited abundantly from active engagement and exposure through project-based learning initiatives. And the last one, enhancing students' academia, community active participation, and dynamic networking. So I think that's all from me. Inshallah, we'll have a Q&A session if time permits. So back to the moderator. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Dr. Farhan for the sharing of the using of e-portfolio for the online assessment. So I can conclude that there are 10 characteristics of e-portfolio has been explained by the Dr. Farhan. The first one is authentic, controllable, communicative, and interactive, dynamic, personalized, integrative, multi-purpose, multi-source. These all 10 characteristics needed in order to provide the e-portfolio for the assessment. So we are open for the Q&A session. If there is any question from the audience.
Ustaz Wei?
Yes,
Nazri here. Ustaz aku.
Dr. Nazri.
Ya, Dr. Bob.
Dr. Nazri, silakan.
Ya, terima kasih kerana buat presentation ni, e-portfolio. It's very useful for us. Saya perasan maksudnya e-portfolio ni platformnya tidak fix. Maksudnya ada budak boleh pakai Wix, ada yang boleh pakai Facebook. Macam tu ya, Dr. Bob. Maksud kita tak fixkan platform mana dia nak letak e-portfolio dia.
Yeah. So it depends on student punya creativity lah.
I see.
Kadang dia pelajar ni kumpulan ni mereka lebih selesa dengan Wix, ada yang lebih selesa dengan Spot kan.
Adakah itu a normal practice ataupun ada universiti dia fix dia buat satu platform. Katalah in this case UMK, kita decide kita ada satu platform yang macam kalau kita kat e-campus lah kan. Adakah itu normal practice untuk open the platform ataupun berbeza-beza? Ada yang buat yang fix, ada yang open ke macam mana itu?
Okey. Sekarang ni kalau dalam konteks kursus yang saya ajar ni, saya course level. Saya gunakan platform yang Web 2.0 yang sedia ada lah. Cuma di peringkat UMT, oleh kerana kita belum ada standardized platform for e-portfolio atau pelantar rasmi sebagai yang memenuhi ciri-ciri e-portfolio. Di mana di sana student maknanya dia boleh letak apa saja artifak ataupun bahan-bahan yang dia ada, so that kita boleh nilai ataupun kita boleh taksir dia punya pencapaian. So saya kira shortcoming kita lah. Saya tidak pasti di UTM dengan UiTM bagaimana mereka melaksanakan e-portfolio. Setakat maklumat saya, dua universiti ni yang baru melaksanakan e-portfolio. Mungkin Prof Surya kalau ada maklumat boleh share dengan kita pada pagi ni lah. Cuma sekarang ni hasil daripada literature yang saya baca dan juga sediakan untuk presentation pada hari ini, saya melihat di peringkat kita lah di Malaysia ni, kita masih lagi di peringkat awal untuk menggunakan e-portfolio secara lebih serius dalam PDP dan juga pentaksiran. Sebab tu contoh-contoh di US, di Australia, di UK dan sebagainya, mereka sudah ada satu platform yang rasmi, yang khusus. Yang saya sebut tadi Mahara kan, Mahara tu salah satu platform yang digunakan pakai secara meluas. Jadi itu mungkin kita punya kekangan lah, yang sama ada kita nak bina sendiri ataupun kita boleh gunakan platform yang sedia ada yang berbayar.
Mungkin bergantung pada universiti masing-masing lah kalau macam tu.
Tapi for course level, saya rasa kalau ada kemudahan itu lebih baik lah, sebab dia akan link, dia akan connect pelajar itu dengan semua kursus yang dia ambil sekiranya taksiran dilaksanakan secara e-portfolio. So sekarang ni kalau saya buat sebagai kursus saya sahaja, so hanya kita boleh nampak the evidence of student learning experience tu untuk kursus ni sahaja. Bagaimana dengan kursus lain ya? Sebab tu saya kata, saya cadangkan mungkin kita boleh mula berfikir ke arah itulah. Course level, mula dengan course level and then go to program level. Cuma based on literature ada dua cabaran lah dalam pelaksanaan e-portfolio. Yang pertama, number of students in class. Dalam banyak literature disebut e-portfolio ni akan berkesan sekiranya jumlah pelajar itu kecil. Ini literature lah yang kedua adalah cabaran tadi, cabaran penguasaan dan kemahiran teknologi dan juga sokongan teknologi tadi untuk facilitate learning. Terima kasih Tuan Nazri.
Terima kasih. Itu saja. Ustaz Wei,
ada audiens saya ataupun rakan-rakan yang lain yang mungkin ada soalan untuk kita punya panel hari ni. Kita buka soalan. Ada soalan daripada teks chat daripada Profesor Madya Dr. Ali Salman, our colleague daripada PBI. Soalan dia, is digital portfolio same as e-portfolio? Dr. Bob. So,
barangkali istilah tu membawa makna yang sama. Kalau dulu portfolio, so it is transformed to digital portfolio. So kita gunalah electronic portfolio. Saya rasa di sudut penjenamaan tu membawa makna yang sama.
Terima kasih Doktor. Mungkin clear Dr. Prof. Ali Salman. Ada soalan lain daripada rakan-rakan? Kita buka lagi. Kalau ada soalan, boleh on mic dan kenalkan diri dan tanya soalan. Kita juga ada live dekat Facebook Pusat Bahasa dan juga Facebook Pejabat TNCA Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. So far Saya tengok.
Ustaz Wan, Ustaz Wan.
Ya,
Sebab
saya.
tak ada orang tanya, saya tanya sekali lagi dah.
Okey, boleh.
Nazri sini dah. Ini sebelah PKPA lah kot, Dr. Bob. Sejauh mana inisiatif by PKPA in this case lah untuk kita kata buat platform e-portfolio ni di UMK. Kalau boleh update sikit yang bahagian tu. Terima kasih. Ustaz Wan, dengar tak?
Dengar ya. Oh, saya jawab Okay, kita
untuk sebelah PKPA punya preparation nak buat e-portfolio ni, platform dia.
okey.
Kalau boleh update sikit lah sebab kami tak tahu benda tu.
Okey, kita punya orang kata perancangan PKPA memang untuk platform e-portfolio tu kita sedang cuba membangunkan satu platform ataupun satu kita panggil web to apps yang kita boleh embedkan ke dalam kita punya pelantar e-campus supaya plugin e-portfolio itu boleh dijadikan salah satu daripada elemen di dalam e-campus kita supaya maksudnya kalau katakanlah pentaksiran e-portfolio yang pensyarah nak pilih, so dia by click macam item-item lain lah. Itu dalam perancangan kami. Mungkin kita akan cuba cari plugin-plugin yang sedia ada macam contoh Wix ataupun Blogspot dan sebagainya. Mungkin WordPress memang dah ada plugin dia. Ataupun kita juga akan cari inisiatif untuk kita bangunkan sendiri dari segi orang kata web tools dia.
Okey, terima kasih.
Kalau boleh saya tambah, ini yang boleh kita ambil pengalaman di Island, e-portfolio Island. Kita tengok yang tengah yang hijau tu, what factors do you believe that made it difficult for your institution to implement any portfolio? So institutional response. So not led by strategy and management. Itu maknanya perlu ada dalam perancangan. Kedua, platform. No platform to support e-portfolio. Yang tadi kalau cadangan kita untuk gunakan pelantar e-campus, embed kat dalam tu. Support and resources, little support. Ini based on research. Workload. Ini pun kena fikir juga. Staff who already overstretched. And the last one, knowledge and disposition. Lack of knowledge of its value. So perlu ada series of training lah kalau kita nak embark on e-portfolio. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you.
Satu perkongsian yang sangat menarik Dr. Farhan tentang e-portfolio ni, siap dengan challenge, siap dengan apa kita punya lag, dan mungkin ini kita boleh ambil jadikan satu perhatian dan juga pengajaran iktibar andai kata kita bergerak ke arah untuk menjadikan e-portfolio sebagai salah satu pentaksiran di UMK. InsyaAllah kita di PKPA akan mengambil serius benda ini dan melihat bagaimana dan juga latihan-latihan mungkin akan dijalankan diadakan bagi memberi galakan penggunaan e-portfolio dalam taksiran dalam norma baru ini. Okay, ada soalan lagi daripada Cik Alia Nadirah. Dr. Borhan, macam mana dengan perkiraan student learning time ya? Pengalaman saya membuat website sendiri ni mengambil masa yang agak lama. Graphic designing, layout, content mungkin untuk subjek 2 credit hour kita kena limitkan tab pada website atau macam mana? Atau tidak membebankan pelajar?
Okay. Ya, saya akui itu cabaran besar lah apabila kita nak embark on e-portfolio. Kalau berdasarkan untuk kursus ni, berdasarkan table 4, pelajar diperuntukkan saya ingat saya 9.5 hingga 10 jam sahajalah untuk assessment projek e-portfolio ini. Jadi saya ada tanya student sejauh mana pengalaman mereka dalam melaksanakan projek ini. So ada 2 part lah, satu pelaksanaan projek, yang kedua untuk menyediakan e-portfolio itu sendiri. So untuk melaksanakan projek, feedback daripada student, mereka ambil masa lebih kurang 3 ke 4 jam sahajalah. Maksudnya kalau mula daripada pagi itu sampai tengah hari mereka dah selesai. So sepanjang pelaksanaan projek itu mereka akan sediakanlah artifaknya, gambarnya, videonya dan sebagainya untuk diletakkan dalam e-portfolio. So dalam penyediaan e-portfolio, saya pun tanya mereka bagaimana. Kata memang ambil masa yang lama. Memang ambil masa yang lama sebab mereka ni tidak ada asas pembinaan ataupun menggunakan baik WordPress ataupun Wix ataupun Blogspot dan sebagainya. Jadi saya rasa itu cabaran yang kita perlu lihat kembalilah. Cuma kalau kita tengok beyond that, hasil yang kita dapat daripada pelajar, mereka mendapat pengalaman itu beyond expectation. Maknanya dari mereka awal bila mereka belajar kursus ini, mereka ingat nak belajar tentang teori-teori, konsep-konsep tentang negara dan juga pembangunan di Malaysia. Tapi rupanya mereka dapat melalui projek e-portfolio ini sesuatu yang lebih bermanfaat untuk kehidupan mereka. Tapi masih lagi related tu ataupun berkait rapat dengan CLO dan PLO yang telah kita tetapkan di peringkat awal. Saya rasa itu yang saya dalam bila kita buat CQI untuk kursus ini, itu cabaran yang saya tengah fikirlah macam mana untuk kita selesaikan. Terima kasih.
Okey, terima kasih Tuan menjawab soalan. Cik Alia, ada soalan lain daripada audiens? Okey, sebagai saya nak orang kata nak bagi konklusi lah. Sebagai konklusi kita pada hari ini, kita melihat e-portfolio satu bentuk pentaksiran yang baru. Okey, ya. Ada soalan Dr. Sekejap. Dr. Chung Swee Shin. Untuk sharing, FPB mengamalkan portfolio untuk latihan industri di mana pelajar menyiapkan portfolio semasa cuti semester selepas BLI, tetapi sebelum masuk tahun akademik yang baru, maka kurang sikit bebanan pelajar semasa semester. Jadi ini sharing daripada teman kita di FPV, Fakulti Perubatan Veterina. Dr. Hakimin, Dr. Berhan boleh share contoh rubrik yang digunakan untuk e-portfolio.
Okay, saya tunjukkan ya. Okay, kalau berdasarkan kepada rubrik tu simple saja, kita nak tengok actually yang elemen pentingnya adalah B, C dan D itu untuk mencapai CLO dan juga PLO. Tapi cuma sebagai instructor ataupun pensyarah, bila kita tengok artifak yang sudah letakkan dalam e-portfolio itu, bila kita baca kita read beyond the lines lah, not only between the lines, but beyond the lines, rupa-rupanya pelajar ini mendapat manfaat yang besar bila kita tailored, kita jajarkan assessment tu, pentaksiran itu dengan bidang pengajian. Ini dalam kes kursus-kursus pengajian umum ataupun kursus wajib universiti. Jadi macam dia seolah pelajar kita ni dia akan sort of kita kata immerse, kan? Dia merasai pengalaman itu melalui projek yang mereka laksanakan.
Okey, terima kasih Dr. Dr. Hakimi menjawab soalan. Okey, jadi kita lihat di sini orang kata pelaksanaan e-portfolio ni orang kata memang sangat berguna lah dan sangat menarik. Bahkan saya boleh katakan dia bukan sahaja berguna kepada pelajar, sebenarnya dia juga berguna kepada kita sebagai ahli akademik. Pada sekarang ini orang kata kurikulum VT ataupun CV sudah lagi untuk yang printed sudah lagi tidak orang kata mungkin dalam era IR 4.0 ini perlu ditukarkan kepada ataupun perlu digitalizekan. Jadi e-portfolio menjadi boleh juga menjadi satu keperluan kepada ahli akademik untuk kita orang kata design kita punya portfolio, our academic portfolio ataupun kita punya resume, curriculum vitae dan sebagainya untuk kita publish dan untuk kita untuk kita share kepada rakan-rakan yang lain bagi tujuan-tujuan tertentulah. Jadi saya rasa kita boleh simpulkan di sini dan kita boleh end up di sini kita punya perkongsian hari ini, satu perkongsian yang sangat menarik daripada Dr. Berhan, selaku pengarah PBI. Jadi saya mengucapkan terima kasih banyak kepada semua audiens yang hadir. Kita punya rakan-rakan yang join pada hari ini lebih kurang 143 orang yang bersama dengan kita. Saya ucapkan terima kasih banyak dan juga kepada pihak PKPA, Pusat Kecemerlangan dan Pembangunan Akademik yang orang kata menyediakan ruang ini. Juga tak lupa kepada penceramah jemputan kita Dr. Berhan. Jadi saya rasa setakat itu saja untuk perkongsian kita hari ini, insya-Allah. kita jumpa lagi mungkin di next session. Kita tangguh sesi kita pada pagi ini dengan membaca tasbih kafarah dan surah Wal-'Asr. Subhanakallah bihamdik, asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wal 'asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladzina amanu wa 'amilus solihat wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. Aqulu qawli hadza. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Terima kasih semua. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.